everyone. My name is Brett Cloutier. I am the Children's Ministry Assistant here at Carolina Forest Community Church, and we are on day 10 now of the road to the resurrection. So we're going to be talking about Luke 19, verses 1 through 10, which is a story that many of you who grew up in the church are familiar with because of the song about Zacchaeus. He was a wee little man who climbed up a sycamore tree. So we're going to dive right in and get started on the story. So Luke 19, 1 through 10. He entered Jericho and was passing through. There was a man named Zacchaeus who was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but he was not able because of the crowd, since he was a short man. So, running ahead, he climbed up a sycamore tree to see Jesus, since he was about to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, because today it is necessary for me to stay at your house." So he quickly came down and welcomed him joyfully. All who saw it began to complain. "He's gone to stay with a sinful man," they said. But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, I'll give half of my possessions to the poor, Lord, and if I've extorted anything from anyone, I'll pay back 4 times as much." "Today, salvation has come to this house," Jesus told him, "because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost." So, just to give you a little background here, as you know, Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and he had just told his disciples about the prophecy that he's going to fulfill, to be killed and resurrected. And so right outside of the city that we're in right now, Jericho, he had healed a blind man. So he had gotten a huge following of people just crowding around him to see who this Jesus was that just healed this blind man. So then we have Zacchaeus, who they say wasn't just a tax collector, but he was the chief tax collector. And Jericho was a very wealthy city. It was the center of commerce at the time, and so that meant Zacchaeus was a very wealthy man. As you know, tax collectors were not popular during this time because a lot of them pocketed a lot more than what was needed and kept the money for themselves. So, in the story, it's very significant that Zacchaeus ran ahead and climbed a tree because in those times it was very undignified for a Jewish man to run, let alone climb a tree. So the fact that Zacchaeus had done that just to get a glimpse of Jesus was a pretty big deal because he was subjecting himself to shame and humiliation, all because he wanted to see Jesus. So yesterday, the devotion talked about Jesus wanting children to come to him. And so here we are in this story, a wealthy man almost acting like a child to get to Jesus, climbing a tree, right? In verse 5, Jesus says to him, "Hurry and come down, because today it is necessary for me to stay at your house." All of those convey a sense of urgency, right? Hurry, today, necessary. Jesus knew that his time here on earth was coming to an end, and he was just trying to seek and save the lost as much as possible. And so Zacchaeus felt that, and it says that he quickly climbed down from the tree. And imagine, there's a whole crowd here watching him. And so Zacchaeus felt that sense of urgency and just climbed straight on down. And so this man who has cheated people and all the people around, their first thought was to complain about it, which, it seems easy to judge them as we're reading the story, but how often have we been in that spot? So Zacchaeus heard their complaints and feels like he needs to earn this meaning that Jesus has already extended to him. Now, Jesus didn't require anything of him quite yet, but Zacchaeus tries to make things right with the people that he knows that he's wrong. And he says, if I've extorted anything from anyone, I'll pay it back 4 times as much, and I'll give half of my possessions to the poor. Which, if you do a little math there, I don't know exactly how much that was, but I would imagine that would probably be pretty much everything he owned. Half of his possessions and then 4 times back what he stole from people. So he would basically give away everything he could just to make things right and to feel like, accept that invitation from Jesus. So then Jesus declares that today salvation has come to this house. And he goes on to say, "For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost." So reading this passage, that leaves me with two questions that I think that we should ponder, right? So number one, who is Zacchaeus to you? It's really easy to read these stories and feel very distant from them, but they're very much real in our own lives. Who is someone that has cheated you? Who is someone that has wronged you? Who is someone that you think is so despicable that they might be beyond repair? Because we all have those people in our lives. It may not be a specific person, but maybe it's someone who has committed an act. Unfortunately, you have to think murderers, rapists, human traffickers, right? I have a really hard time thinking that those people could accept Jesus and be saved. But maybe that's who your Zacchaeus is, or maybe it's someone different. And if Jesus were here today, he probably wouldn't be coming to my house or your house. He would be going to people who are sinners, who he says are the least of these. He might be hanging out in the parts of town that maybe you try to avoid at night. I believe that that's where Jesus would be. And then question number 2, am I blocking someone else's view of Jesus? Verse 3, it says, he was trying to see who Jesus was, but he was not able because of the crowd. Am I helping people see Jesus, or am I blocking the way? Is my pride blocking someone else's view of Jesus? What about my politics? Am I inviting people to see him? So I don't want to be like the crowd that's blocking someone else's view of Jesus. Sometimes we just need to get out of the way. And so I just want to leave you with that. Let's lift people up to him. Jesus knew how short his time was here on earth. And I don't know about you, but I've noticed the world is getting crazier and crazier. And that's what the Bible says the end times will look like. So we don't know how much time we have here left on earth. So let's make sure that we're making space for even the most unsuspecting people, because the Bible has told us time and time again that no one is too far gone for salvation. So you never know who is desperately seeking him. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, and make sure you check back for day 11.